Hello there, Sarah from 17 once again. This is my Legend of Korra Extreme Difficulty video walkthrough. This is chapter 5, it's entitled Fire and Ice, and this is part 1 of 2. So this very first sequence here has a waterbender, and it also has a bunch of these green dudes. So, as you've probably learnt via my videos, via your own experience at this point, that countering the green guys is easiest when they do the little dash away, and then you counter afterwards and you can get the parry. And with that parry you can often kill a lot of people. The waterbender's the guy you want to try and kill first, and the trick with this dude is to try and get him to block, and then get him to let you counter him, and then from that point onwards you can juggle him, you can launch him, you can hit him with the higher chi attacks, and just have some fun with him. A really good way of fighting this guy is to continually pull him towards you, because it does a stun that stops him from being able to retort. And of course, you can manipulate the camera to exploit the fact that the enemies can't attack unless they're on screen. And the enemy's rules for this generally stem from literally pixels, so if they're even remotely close to being on screen, or their little pinky is on screen, then they can still attack. So you want to be careful with it, but it is still a very valuable strategy to use. I just introduced you to the concept of just how much life these enemies can have when you don't do the executions. But there is us levelling up the water powers. It's going to both heal us and give us max in waterbending. Then a little floating girl tells us about the next element we're going to get, and then we have to do this. So there's a little transition there because I wanted to show you this. The quickest way to do this combo is to get lucky enough and have the dude drop kick you, because if he does, it's immediately you do the entire thing, and it's pretty funny. And then it gives you fire, which I actually thought fire was useless on my first playthrough because I never used it. It was very fast, it didn't really have anything too special about it. But as I've played more of the game, I've realised that fire, when you have full chi with it, enables you to do some pretty crazy teleportation. And it's kind of like waterbending. It will let you teleport up to people on balconies and attack them, and if you use it correctly you can be really interesting with it, and it can be really fun. It has a lot of give Korra extra height moves and allows her to move quickly and things. It's got some cool, interesting stuff to it. It also has the fire breath, which is a little trickier to do than I would like, but it's still a fun move. And I saw somebody playing this the other day on my network, which also makes me a little bit, I'm not going to say depressed, because I don't really believe in flippantly using a word like depression. I think it's a very serious thing, so anybody who's experienced it legitimately will know that it's not something to be trifled with, but it always makes me down a little bit when I see my network advertising people who I believe to be inferior to myself. And I know that sounds incredibly selfish, but the one thing you really have when you're building a channel on your own, like me and a lot of other people are doing, is you need a self-belief. If you don't have a self-belief, then you'll probably quit, or you'll probably make one video a month or a week, or you'll, just gradually stop. And how TGN works is you have a TGN ID number and you submit clips to it, and I've submitted about 10 separate videos to it, and I've never once received anything back. And I know I'm sending them correctly because it's about as simple as getting on a bus. I have the right email, I have the right form, I have the right ID number, and I've never even had a reply back saying why they've never chosen my gameplay. Because the quality is the best I can make it at this moment in time, and the only way it gets any better is when I have a room that I can accommodate for sound in, so I can make it a little bit less echoey. I can make it so that you can't hear my PC quite as frequently as you can in some videos when it goes quiet. Everything else is there's the 60 frames per second upgrade that I'm going to be transitioning into, but everything else is as high as it can be, so there doesn't seem to be a very valuable reason for not being supported by my own network. And the easiest way to grow on YouTube, folks, is to network. It's also very difficult though, because anything creative is inherently selfish, and when you're networking with other people, it has their creative vision clashing with yours, and sometimes you get those people that can't do that, other times you don't, and you have those working relationships. And I would love my network to be a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more interested, but after submitting all those videos, which were some of the best I believe on YouTube, and getting nothing back, I just kind of stopped doing it. So when I watch somebody on the main channel get like 3,000, 4,000 views on a Legend of Korra video, and all they're doing is using the firebending ability and mashing X or mashing punch, it just makes me really sad. But such is the internal politics of YouTube, which I try not to bore too many people with, because I know most people don't really care too much. It's just the hardcore few who like watching, who like to hear about that stuff. But this is Legend of Korra, and that's me taking electricity to the face. If you kill him first, these enemies can't actually get to you, which is pretty fun, because then you can do whatever you want with them, like messing about with the just releases on the chi and getting beaten up by that guy. But there's an ability in this game that enables you to evade at the last possible instant and get behind people's backs. So it's a counter ability. It's kind of like a counter witch time. And on anything that fires a projectile at you, if you do the evade on them, you'll teleport behind them. So it's an awesome way of closing the distance. However, when I was recording this walkthrough, I didn't have that accessory at the time, so you're not going to see any of that, even though it is really interesting and a lot of fun. But this game is really buggy, guys, and I have to say, because I've given it a lot of praise, and I think it deserves some praise. You can throw water at this tank man before you fight him to lower his life, should you choose to. You only get a couple of hits, or I believe if you're a little bit further away from him, you might be able to get a few more, but it all counts, and then a big fight kicks off, and we do what we've been doing for most of the fights, which is getting beaten up occasionally and doing a lot of countering. But this game has issues, and I came across a lot of them on replays. The biggest one is the collectibles, the way the collectibles work. And you might not know too much about the collectibles in this game, but they don't work like standard collectibles. So instead of having set places and set collectibles on set levels, it's all completely random. And do you remember those chests that told us throughout the game that the more interesting the combos and the more damage we did to them, the better the items they would give us? Well, that was utter bullshit, because they're random. They're always random. It doesn't matter what you do, they will always be random. So you can do the best combo in the world, get an A and feel like a dumbass, and then you can do a shit combo and get an S. It is bizarre, to say the least. And that's when the collectibles actually stack and check themselves. The last one I needed was a compassy thing that was an S rank item, and I got it twice, and at the end of the level, on the screen where it shows you the collectibles, it didn't give it me. I didn't die after picking it up. It saved, it checkpointed, I finished the level, I didn't quit, I did all the things you normally need to do, and it punished me for doing it. It was the strangest thing. And then after that, there is an achievement and trophy for doing all the, getting all the combos, which is buying all the scrolls. I bought all the scrolls, didn't give me shit. I had to start a new game on a new hard drive to get that one. And then there's complete all the tutorials, so every so often on the game, on the left-hand side, there'll be an instruction telling you how to do something. And when you do it, it ticks it off. If you don't do them all, they don't show up again. On repeat plays, they don't show up again at all. So if you don't do them, you don't get it, and you have to start a new game to do that one. And the weird thing is, it still keeps the ones you did previously, so if you missed one at the beginning, you don't have to replay much, but you have to start a new game, or it just will never let you try. And it's just this, you know, immediate lack of polish that I think mars this game in many ways, from the criticism of the, you know, lack of enemy diversity, the criticism of, you know, not too many combos with the combat system, and pretty much all of the things that would be different if the game had had a 2 to 3 year development cycle and a budget to go along with it. Because if anybody played Bayonetta 2, even though that was made by a different studio within Platinum, which people seem to forget that just because it says it's by a developer does not mean it's by the people who made the game you love. You know, there are a lot of different dev teams, and Platinum Studios are smaller than your average development teams, but they still have different factions within them that all work as a representative of Platinum. And Bayonetta 2 is an amazing game. It's an incredibly fun game, and it's a testament to what that studio can do when they're given, you know, the right amount of time and the right amount of money. And it's a shame to see that this one didn't get such an attention, especially coming from Activision, who I believe were the publisher. And Activision have more money than sense at this point, because they keep on pushing out Call of Duties, and people keep on buying them, myself included. And it's just that thing of, I don't think it's ever going away, that, and I don't think we can ever expect it to, as I do the counter-attack on this beast. So the red mech he's no different really than the other one. He's just a little bit of a palette swap. Whenever he does the charge move, you want to counter it. There's a really interesting technique of just release guarding, which sounds super complicated and like something out of a fighting game, and it really isn't. When you charge your key and Korra glows and you release it and you get that buff, and it gives whatever attack you would do that extra bit of damage, it also works with riposting. So if you charge your attack as they swing at you, and you guard the moment Korra flashes, when she riposts, she will do a critical. And it's something that I came across after recording this walkthrough, so you're not going to see it, unfortunately. But I was playing on normal. I forget the difficulty, I think it's just called normal. And I was coming up against the first mech guy. And I just unlocked the Earth ability. He had 2 bars of life left. And I did one. I did one of the criticals. And it took off both bars in the riposte. And then I tried it again doing a standard riposte, and it took off half a bar, which tells you, you know, it's almost 4 times as powerful if done correctly. A little footnote with it, I have had times where it didn't seem to do any more damage, but I believe that was probably just because of bad timing or something along those lines. But it's definitely a technique you can look into should you want to play Legend of Korra on a slightly more advanced level. You know, that level that the reviews told you didn't exist. And then they give, you know, Modern Warfare fucking Advanced Warfare 9 out of 10, when they are literally the same game. And that's coming from somebody who loves the mechanics of Call of Duty. I think they have the best movement and gunplay of any first-person shooter. Yet, they still clip like a motherfucker, and they never fix that. You know, you even remotely brush anything in those levels and you can't move. It's like, come on, folks. What the fuck are you doing? You're not tweaking the shooting, you're not tweaking the movement, and you're clearly not fixing the clipping, which is horrendous. Yet, every single year we get a game, and they've moved to the point now where there's 3 studios doing it. 3 studios putting out the same game. It's madness. And don't get me wrong, the games are of a high level of quality. They just are. You know, there's a lot of money going into them. They get a lot of money, and regardless of if you hate the series, you have to agree they are the highest quality shit you can buy. And it's that weird thing of, I personally want Call of Duty to die. I really do, and that's coming from somebody who loves it. That's like saying I want a child to die, my own child to die. But if it would usher in you know, this new age of better, more innovative games, then I would gladly do it. You know, I would gladly, on a biblical level, sacrifice my own child, because it needs to die. It really does. And I don't think it's getting old or getting tired. I just think it needs something different. And the things that they're doing, that they're promoting as, oh, this new big epic change that makes it, you know, this completely different game, is bullshit. Like, Advanced Warfare has exosuits, and they're a really cool idea. And all it enables us to do is an awesome dash move and an interesting double jump that's almost as slow as Halo. The entire game, when you're not boosting or dashing, now feels slow. So what have they done? They've ultimately shot themselves in the foot, because the one thing Call of Duty had was speed, and now you've given us the ability to move faster, and that move faster ability is, you know, moderated. You now introduce us to the concept of feeling slow, and I think it ultimately breaks the game. It's a fun idea, but it's not new, and they're selling it as if it is, and that's the thing that always bugs me with any game, especially Assassin's Creed. They fuck me off. But that's the end of that mission, guys. We've got one part of it coming up, which I believe is a boss fight, and then it will be Chapter 6. But thank you for watching, and you take care now.